Dear students, my name is Dr. Srinivas Goli. I am an assistant professor in population studies in the Center for Study of Regional Development, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Under MHRD UGC E-Pathshala program, we are dealing a paper on population structure and characteristics. Today, I teach a module on women autonomy and empowerment. Women autonomy, agency and empowerment are always considered as in a pathways for bringing gender equity and reducing gender gap and the important process of mainstreaming of women in any society. So first we will deal women autonomy, then followed by agency and women empowerment. So let's learn what is the meaning and definition of female autonomy. Autonomy word came in early 17th century from Greek word autonomia, later autonomous, means having its own laws, from autos, self, plus nomos is the law. So its conceptual meaning is self-government or self-direction. Being autonomous is an acting on motives, reasons, values that are one's own. Female autonomy in general form can be defined as the capacity to manipulate one's personal and social environment and the ability, technical, social and psychological, to obtain information and to use it for their personal, intimate concerns. It can also be defined as the ability of a person to make decisions that affect the circumstances of their own lives as an essential aspect of empowerment. For more information, please see Shirin Jijopai 1995 article and Dyson Murray article of 1983. In 1969, United Nations General Assembly affirmed the Declaration on Social Progress and Development. In 1975, United Nations Declaration as an International Women's Year and announced 8th March has been celebrated as a International Women's Day. In 1976-19 declared the United Nations Debate for Women. In 1994, International Conference on Population and Development in Cairo, the government is committed to empowerment and autonomy of women. In 1995, 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing operationalized and implemented committed for. In 1995, 4th World Conference on Women is also emphasized for women autonomy and empowerment. So all these international movements have encouraged for women's autonomy and empowerment. Empowerment and advancement of women, including the right to freedom of thought, consciousness, religion and belief, thus contributing to moral, ethical, spiritual and intellectual needs of women and men, individually or in community with others, and thereby guaranteeing them in the possibility of realizing their full potential in society and shaping their lives in accordance with their own aspirations. There are a number of international programs and number of international movements which are encouraged and fought for women's empowerment and autonomy. For example, in 1999, United Nations General Assembly affirmed the Declaration on Social Progress and Development, which emphasized on women autonomy. In 1975, United Nations Declaration as an International Women's Year also announced 8th March as being celebrated as a International Women's Day. In 1976-85, declared the Decade for Women. These all movements are encouraged for women autonomy and empowerment. In 1994, International Conference on Population and Development in Cairo is committed for women's empowerment. This is called to be a paradigm shift in the policy making for both not only population and development but also women empowerment. In 1995, 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing is one of the landmark steps after 1994 for the emancipation of women, where women empowerment has been defined in a broader form. Here, women empowerment and advancement of women considered as the right to freedom of thought, consciousness, religion, and belief, thus contributing to the moral, ethical, spiritual, and intellectual needs of women and men, individually or in community with others, and thereby guaranteeing them the possibility of realizing their full potential in society and shaping their lives in accordance with their own aspirations. Female autonomy theories. Among these important female autonomy theories, we have 7 female autonomy theories. The first is feminist odd cases. This particularly deals about the failure of female autonomy, often called as a hard cases. It specially deals on the practices of oppression, self-consciously adopted practices and traditions of oppressions. The second one is relational autonomy, which mostly deals on strongly substantive or weakly substantive concepts. This is most often a content neutral. Sometimes it's also casual and constitutive, which defines the conditions of male and female. The third one is procedural conceptions, which differs between the self-rule and the right rule of male and female duties. The fourth one is normative competency and conceptions, which basically talks about the free agency. The fifth one, emotions and self-regarding attitudes, which always deals with self-worth. The sixth one is dialogical concept, agents' answerability to others, like whether women as an agent is answerable to others. The seventh concept is strong substantive or socio-relational conceptions, that agents' psychology and moral go on the world's right ways, that women's attitudes, roles, and our dress culture to the behavior is always controlled on the moral grounds and often viewed right ways. Next issue in the autonomy, the levels of female autonomy. The levels of female autonomy can be seen at the various levels, which varies from household to individual. So let's look at the autonomy, female autonomy at various levels. The first one is at the household level. The autonomy practices within the household or with other family members in the parental house as well as in the in-laws houses. Pre-marriage and post-marriage autonomy are very different. In the pre-marriage, the autonomy of women is restricted by the parents, brothers, and other elder members in the natal family. Whereas in the in-laws family, the autonomy of female is restricted mostly by husband, mother-in-law, father-in-law, or other elderly members. In the second level is particularly the marital union. This autonomy level practice in between the couples or marital couple is always as viewed as the conjugal unit level of autonomy. The level of exposure, space, and practice of their rights within the marital unit or marital relationship is very important for enhancing female autonomy. But often we see married female has been restricted on their personal spheres within the marital union. The third one is the individual level. It is observed by the person everywhere and every time within the household as well as the house outside the household, where the individuals are expect a female sex or feminine need to be behaved in a certain way, which restricts her autonomy from the various spheres of her life, from individual behavior to dress culture to food habits to or many other aspects of life. What are the indicators of female autonomy? How do we measure the female autonomy? The key aspects of female autonomy is to have the ability of decision making in various areas of life, which are following: access to resources of livelihood, access to higher education, access to quality health care, social, economic and political participation without any discrimination, control by women on their own body and desires, fertility, sexual behavior, lack of moral restrictions for women. By using these indicators, the various surveys have collected information. Empirically, examination of this phenomena shows that in a country like India, female lacks autonomy compared to their counterparts, and female has lower autonomy overall. If you look at the National Family Health Survey last 3 rounds, which conducted in 2005-06 and 2015-16, we observed that the percentage of married women who usually participate in household decisions, we see that although the overall participation has been rose from 36% to 84% in NFHS 4, but still the women's participation is considered to be less than 100%. The same time, we can see that across the states, if you look at the highly autonomous states, states which giving high autonomous power to women, most of these states belongs to either Northeast or smaller state like Goa, Kerala. But overall, one can say that the women autonomy over the period from NFHS 3 2005-06 to NFHS 4 2015-16, it has been rise. The percentage of currently married women aged 15 to 49 who usually make specified decision alone or jointly has been presented here from the National Family Health Survey 3 round. If you look at the women's autonomy on the various household level or individual level activities, we see that women's participation in decision of own health care still lacks, where women taking decision alone is just 23% in 2005-06. But if by 2015-16 of NFHS, maybe this figure might be slightly gone up, but still one we can consider that women's decision making power in India is less. On large household purchases also, if you see women taking decision alone is just 8%, which might have gone slightly up in the recent round of National Family Health Survey in 2015-16. Purchases of daily needs, women has slightly higher decision making, but it is not very crucial function within the household. But if once we see the visits to her family and relatives, that freedom of mobility, the women again have very low percentage of decision making, where she shows only just 11% of women are making decision alone to visit our family or relatives, that they have the freedom of mobility. Similarly, the number of women who are employed for cash have decision how to use their own earnings also shows that women have less freedom for using their own earnings. Also, they have less freedom to use the earnings of their husband or taking decisions on how to spend their husband earnings. Then what are the sources of the women's autonomy? What are the factors which influence the women's autonomy? Is important to take steps to improve the women's autonomy and for gender mainstreaming or women's empowerment. If you look at the sources of influence on women autonomy, we have 2 important sources. One is modernizing and economic approach to women autonomy. Second is cultural dependent influence on women autonomy. Basically, women autonomy should be dealt these 2 levels. What are the benefits of female autonomy? The important benefits of female autonomy: reduction in fertility and infant mortality rates, taking better decisions of their own health care, taking better reproductive decisions, which leads to reduced infertility and also infant mortality and maternal mortality. Better female autonomy also improves sex ratios. It also improves their child health and children's education. It decreases in the rate of violence against women. It increases the women's status in the society. What are the barriers of improving female autonomy? The important barrier for improving female autonomy is gender inequality. At a global level, inequality begins for female at the initial birth stages by sex-selective abortions. Girls are deprived of access to health care, proper nutrition, which leads to higher mortality rate. When they are come in adolescent period, this gender-based disparity becomes widened. Nearly 15 million girls under the age 18 years are married every year, almost 37,000 per every day at the global level, without their involvement in the decision making of their marriage. Deterioration has occurred in the terms and conditions of much of that work, with livelihoods becoming increasingly insecure and precarious. Economic growth does not necessarily reduce gender gaps in earnings or enhancement of women's economic autonomy. Another important barriers in improving women autonomy is gender-based violence. Gender-based violence can be explained as the violence occurs as the result of normative role expectations associated with each gender, along with unequal power relations between the two genders, with an extent of the specific society. Gender-based violence has different forms, which are domestic violence, physical violence, sexual violence, psychological violence, and threats of violence form, emotional violence, isolation, and use of children, economic violence. Then what are the policies and programs we have to empower women and increase their autonomy? There are a number of policies at international and national level. We have Millennium Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goals, which are especially the Sustainable Development Goals, which is underway, are the important policy initiative from the international level or UN level to improve the gender equity and achieve gender equality and empower women and improve their women's status. At the national level, there are a number of programs, for example, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme, Women's Helpline scheme, Ujjwala scheme, comprehensive scheme for preventing trafficking and rescue of women, rehabilitation, reintegration of victims for trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation, Rajiv Gandhi is for empowerment of adolescent, maternity benefit schemes, ministry programs on Ujjwala, and there are a number of other programs we are operating for mainstreaming women in India. The main targets of Sustainable Development Goal 5 are end all forms of discrimination against women and girls everywhere, elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls in public and private spheres, including trafficking and sexual and other exploitations. Eliminate harmful practices such as child, early and forced marriages of female and genital mutilation. Ensure women's full and effective participation and equal participation for leadership at all levels of decision making. Ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights as agreed to accordance with the programs of action of the International Conference on Population Development Program 1994. There are a number of organizations in India working for enhancing women's empowerment. For example, few of them can be named here. One is National Institute of Public Cooperation in Child Development, National Commission for Women, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, Central Adaptation Resource Agency, Central Social Welfare Board, and Rashtriya Mahila Kosh. These are just naming a few. There are a number of other organizations, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, also working towards emancipating the women. Next, we will deal about the women empowerment. Women empowerment is an important mechanism of pathway to close gender gap, especially gender gap in income, health, education, and power. Women empowerment has a cyclic relationship between gender inequality. Gender inequality contributes to women empowerment, which as basically gender inequality reduces women empowerment or hinders, create an hindrance to the women's empowerment. On the other hand, women's empowerment, lack of women's empowerment reduces gender inequality, and women empowerment improves the gender equity. Let's see the meaning of the women empowerment. Women empowerment can be defined as a process of increasing the capacity of individuals or groups to make choices and to transform those choices into desires and actions and outcomes. Through the process of empowerment, an individual becomes an agent of change. Lack of empowerment persists everywhere in the world and it is pervasive, especially in developing countries like India. Unequal power relations between men and women, as well as the higher prevalence of exclusion in the society, attracts the significance of empowerment. Women's empowerment comprises women's education, knowledge to enhance her understanding about her surroundings, her ability to control her life, freedom from domination by not depending on anyone else for income, her ability to participate in decision-making process, her capability to make independent decisions, and finally her independence in terms of mobility. Women empowerment, broadly defined as a control over material assets, intellectual resources, and ideology. For example, material assets, this includes physical or human or financial, such as land, water, forests, people's bodies, labor, money, and access to money. The intellectual resources includes knowledge, information, and ideas, whereas the ideological resources signifies the ability to generate, propagate, sustain, institutionalize specific sets of beliefs, values, and attitudes and behavior. What are the terms which we help to understanding the women empowerment are important to learn these terms to explain the women empowerment, and unless we learn the meaning of these particular terms, it is difficult to understand the women empowerment, particularly gender equality, gender equity, gender discrimination, status of women, women's autonomy, women's agency. Let's see the meaning of each of these, meaning of these concepts. Gender equality denotes women having the same opportunities in life as a man, including the ability to participate in the public sphere. So, greater the gender inequality, lesser the women empowerment, or greater the women's empowerment, lesser the gender equality. Gender equity implies equivalence in life outcomes of men and women, recognizes their different needs and interests, and requiring a redistribution of power and resources. So, greater the gender equity, greater the women's empowerment. Greater the women empowerment, greater the gender equity. Gender discrimination means the systematic unfavorable treatment of individuals on the basis of their gender, which deny their rights, opportunity, and resources. Greater the gender discrimination, lesser the women empowerment, or greater the women empowerment, lesser the gender discrimination. The status of women. It refers to the position that women occupy in the family and in society, related to those of men and women across the different classes and time and space. Greater the women's status, greater the women empowerment, greater the women empowerment, greater the status of women. Women's autonomy. Autonomy refers to an individual's capacity to act independently of the authority of the others, that as we discussed in the beginning. Greater the women autonomy, greater the women empowerment, greater the women empowerment, greater the women autonomy. Women's agency. Women's agency deals about the ability of a person to act for herself. Greater the women agency, greater the women empowerment, and greater the women autonomy. And greater the women autonomy, greater the women empowerment, they will lead to greater women agency. Women's empowerment principle. Empowerment is the key for economic growth, political stability, and social transformation. Following statement reflects the significance of women empowerment. When women succeed, the nations are more safe, secure, and prosperous, as Barack Obama, previous US President, states. The previous UN General Secretary stated, there is no tool for development more effective than women empowerment of women. Amartya Sen, the Nobel Laureate of Economics, says, empowering women is the key to building the future we want. Thus, women empowerment is a key for development. Empowerment is essentially a bottom-up process rather than something that can be formulated as top-down strategy. An individual level, what women expect for her family and society are pointed out below. To live in dignity, to able to meet basic needs, employment, income and roofs over our heads, freedom from violence, tension and war, justice and self-sufficiency, opportunity to know the world outside, mobility, exposure, information and education. A society where every child experiences childhood, where children go to school, equity between women and men, clean environment, good health, a government that is within the reach of the people and say in decision and give says in decisions which affect the women's lives. Pathways. What are the pathways for women empowerment? The following diagram will show the different pathways for women. We have pointed out seven steps of how we can make women empowerment. First, the rising up democracy within the family. Second, rise up education, rise the capacity building, involve training for the capacity building, then develop entrepreneurship in young women, building an entrepreneurship culture in the women, access to financial resources, access to technology, technological assistance and support services, strong advocacy for better projects and plans, and better project development. There are a number of measures which used for the measuring women empowerment, but UN summary measure of women empowerment are important to discuss here. The gender empowerment measure was designed to measure whether the women and men are able to actively participate in economic and political life and take part decisions making equally or not. The gender empowerment measure tends to be more agency focused, what people are actually able to do, than well-being focused. This is one criticism that gender empowerment measure is facing. However, gender empowerment measure is thought to be a valuable policy instrument because it allows certain dimensions that were previously difficult to compare between countries to come into international comparisons. But still there are a lot of debates running around this particular measure of women empowerment and gender empowerment. The current UN measure is heavily data driven, especially more importance to income. Often this information is not available from developed countries. Therefore, measuring summary measures of the gender empowerment often face a lot of problem. It failed to account the employment contribution of women at the local level, especially number of occupations where women participate are not paid. Failed to account for quality of employment decision making and political participation. Women empowerment measure also failed to address the issue of female control over their body and sexuality. Thank you.